All right, thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about sales automation in 3 easy steps. Now, I know that might sound riveting, right? Like, oh, it's so exciting. Just kidding. I know it's not super exciting, but guess what? If you run a business, or you know somebody that runs a business, or you care about somebody that runs a business, this is going to change the business landscape over the next 5 years in a lot of ways. And in fact, in a lot of ways, it's already started to change the business landscape. So, what is sales automation? Let's start with that. Really simply, it's understanding how content in web pages can help your business automate the sometimes very costly, expensive, and time-consuming process of finding getting visitors to your website and turning those visitors into traffic and then leads. So this is relevant for anybody. You have a small business, maybe you have a medium or large size business that you work for or work with. If they aren't talking about how are we automating sales, how are we moving people through our content experience, what kind of content are we creating online that will bring people in? If they're not talking about this, you want to be aware. If you're an employee or you're a manager, if you're not ahead of this right now, you're going to be in trouble, because what happens is the old ways we get customers, traditional marketing, all the different ways of old school marketing is becoming more expensive and becoming less effective. And especially as COVID-19 has come on, you think, everything's going more digital, more virtual. So even now it's even more important, even if you have a brick and mortar business, etc. So, okay, the first thing you need to think about when you want to automate your sales. What's up, Tom? Good to see you here. We're talking about sales automation and how to get more customers and how to automate the process of finding your ideal customer. So step one, the first thing we need to do, and this is different now in the new age versus the old way of doing business, because with the internet, you can be laser targeted on who you want to reach. And who do we want to talk to? Who's our ideal audience? Two ideas. Somebody who actually has the money to buy what you're selling, right? And of course, somebody who's highly interested and motivated in working with you. And with your website, with social media and content, we can really call them in magnetically if your content strategy is set up correctly. And we're going to talk more about that. So your ideal audience, right? The new way of doing that is just getting laser focused on what we call your buyer persona, who that is, who is that person that you really want to work with, who is that ideal customer that you can work with and serve really well. Let's start with that, right? In the old days, you had to do a blanket approach, a mass media approach, because you couldn't be laser targeted like you can be with the internet today. So the new way is pick your ideal audience and get laser focused on who that is, who it is that you need to fill your event, to fill your, Tom, I know you have rental properties, so who it is that you want to call in to be ideal tenants, right? You don't necessarily want trouble tenants. You want good tenants that want to come in and respect your property. So you can use a website to do just that. So your ideal audience is where you want to start, because if you don't start there, you're not going to end up there. So let's start with who your ideal audience is and use content in the content strategy to find out where they are online and to call them in to pick up the phone and talk to you, to buy from you. If you have an e-commerce website or an e-commerce store, it can work for that as well. So remember, new way to build an audience is really start with who is it you want to work with. For me as a consultant, I do simple Facebook ads like this. I only need a few clients a month. I don't need to be a social media superstar to run a full-time business, working from home. So you don't have to think you're some sort of, I'm not good enough to be online, I'm not good enough to be on social media. If you want to start a business or if you want to grow your business, you can do it very simply with tools like this. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be driving a Lamborghini or have a babe in a hot sports car in your picture, right? You don't have to do that if you have a good, honest business. So the next step, you need to have a clear offer page somewhere. So if you're out on social media, if you're calling people in, hey, let's talk, what are you doing? Let's see if I can help you. Somewhere, some way, you need a page. And this can be on your website. For $20 a month, you can build a Wix website. You don't need to be a programmer or a coder. This is very inexpensive to get started, guys. It doesn't have to cost a lot. But you need somewhere. You can have a clear digital offer where people can say, oh, this is what they do, this is why they're good, this is who they want to work with, and then at the bottom there's a link to contact or connect, etc. So, nothing major, nothing groundbreaking. You can set this up on a weekend from home if you're starting small, or if you have a larger business, you can build these systems within your website that you already have. There's not a lot of massive infrastructure that needs built. It's just you got to think about it a little bit differently. So the first thing about a digital offer is you need one that will actually convert. And there's a little bit of psychology by how you build these pages and how you do them in a way that actually gets people excited, right? And it also, the next thing, it must build digital trust. So what does it mean to build trust online? And in some ways, if you wanted to, you could go out and create a page that looks trustworthy and you could scam people, I guess. But, nobody's doing that this day and age. And if you are, this probably isn't a good video for you anyhow. So really though, most business owners out there already have a good product or service, and they work really hard at providing that. So that's the basis. Like, most businesses I talk to have what it takes to really grow and scale online. They just don't quite know how to approach it. First of all, you probably already have a good product or service. You just need somebody to help you tell the story in a compelling way and turn that into content that builds that authority, that builds that, hey, we're a professional presence online. And another thing you want to think about are your testimonials. Your testimonials really matter. And these are easy to get. You just got to take a step out of your day and say, hey, we've been working together for a long time, or, you've been part of my business for a long time. Can you make a video testimonial for me? Or even just say a few words. Hey, I've been working with so-and-so for this much time, and they helped me produce these results, right? That's what I do in consulting. And so I get these testimonials and I put them on my website, and you'll see them around. And they work. They build trust. They help people understand that you've done what you say you're doing. And online, if you can do this and set up a page with your expertise or service, you can turn virtual traffic into real dollars by providing your service online. You don't need to be a superstar to do it. The other thing, what is an effective web presence for your niche? And it's probably more simple than you're thinking. Everybody out there is either looking to relieve a pain or a problem that they have, or they're trying to achieve a solution or a goal, right? It's the only reason we buy things in life, let's be honest. Either, something I don't want to deal with, I'm going to call the plumber and they're going to fix it, or something I want to achieve, I'm going to get a new pair of shoes and it's going to help me run faster, I'm going to get this for the gym so I can, lift better or prevent injury. There's any way you think about it, you're trying to either cure a pain that you already have or achieve a goal that you want. That's the economy, period. So if you're clear on that and what your business does around those aspects, you can turn that into language that will motivate people to pick up the phone and call you or send you an email or whatever that is. So before we get into point number 3 and wrap this up, notice I didn't mention anything about spending tens of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads. Notice I didn't mention you have to spend thousands of dollars on a website. In some cases, if you're starting from scratch and you want to grow a business or do a startup, yeah, you'll need to spend some money on some things. But again, you can do a lot of this with a simple Wix website, or if you already have a business website, you can do it with what you already have. You just need to think about your content approach in a slightly different way. So that brings me to point number 3. You need a proven content sequence. And anybody who's bought an online program about how to grow your business or how to market your business or how to build a Facebook page that will send your business to the next level, if you don't have a proven content sequence that takes somebody from a visitor, a cold traffic we call it, and the content will warm them up and they become a warm lead and eventually a sale, you need a content sequence that takes people from cold traffic to become a warm audience, and then ideally to a sale. Sometimes you're going to get people that say, oh, I saw you on 6 months ago and it just wasn't time wasn't right for me. Even then now, the time was right. So I picked up the phone and I called you and here we are. Like, that's the power of the internet. If you stick with it and you keep your narrative good with this content sequence, which I'm going to explain in a little more detail, this will work for you. And it works every time if you do it right. I've done this to grow businesses, retail brands from almost zero to the top of their category. And we didn't build anything highly complex. We had a great email sequence. We knew our ideal customer and target audience, and we went after them strategically. We didn't have to buy a bunch of technology. We sat down and got our content sequence figured out. We created a little bit of media to show the prospects and the customers. And guess what happened? They picked up the phone and they bought literally $1 million contracts from us. So, this can work at the small level or it can work at the large level. And here's the trick. If you're going to spend a bunch of time building an e-commerce site or a Shopify website and sell, $4 gadgets, sometimes it's just as effective to be more strategic and find somebody who wants to buy thousands of those off of you at a wholesale level. And then, sometimes that's the easiest way to do it, because why go after these $4 sales when you can go after $4,000 sales and it takes you the same amount of time? All you're going to do is build the content sequence and reach out to the right people. So a few things about your content sequence that you need to be aware of. On that first reach out, you never want to ask them to get married on the first date. You want to say, hey, how can I help you? What are you working on? Are there any specific problems I can help you solve? And usually at that point, you'll send them to a link about your bio, about what your mission or your product is. And here's the thing, one last thing I want to talk about that I actually skipped in part 2. You need a good product or service, right? But for some of you, I have a meeting later today with an artist. He's making music videos and his videos are starting to go viral. And so for you as an artist or somebody who's a mission-driven leader or a mission-driven entrepreneur, sometimes your mission and talking about your mission is the best thing that you can do on your content, because that gets people excited and that gets people following you. And we've all seen what virality can do on the internet. Of course, it can, take you from being a nobody to a superstar. And while that's kind of rare, if you've got an edge, if you've got a following, if you've got a few thousand people that are following you on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you can do almost anything if your mission is strong enough and you have the content that explains it in a way that people get excited about and want to get behind it. So I don't care if you're selling cars, if you're renting homes or properties, if you're, you want to be the next social media superstar or make music videos, this kind of concept is the DNA of what makes a brand go on the web. It makes a brand go big time. So what I was getting at was, we want to share first. We don't want to ask them for the sale on the first step, right? We want to hear about where they're at, what they're working with, and then you want to kind of qualify them. So, hey, tell me about what you're up to, or hey, check out my page and watch this video. Let me know what you think. And that begins that relationship. In the escalation sequence, then people say, oh yeah, I read your this, or I watched your live video on Facebook and I thought it was interesting and I'd like to hear more about what you're doing. It's really pretty simple. You have to take kind of a neighborly approach, right? It's kind of what we think about. We don't want to be a high pressure salesperson, because guess what? That doesn't usually work in the long run. I'm a big believer in having that neighborly approach. Hey, here's what it is. Here's how we do it. If we can help you, we're here. If not, I'll see you next time. And when you have that approach, this becomes a lot easier and it doesn't feel high stress and pressure. So finally, the last thing I want to talk about here, don't reinvent the wheel, guys. This doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. If you have a business goal, if you have a mission that you want to accomplish, if you have a good product or service, or you know somebody who has one and they haven't capitalized on the power of the internet, on the power of digital content and marketing, this is where you start. Find out who your ideal target customer is. Create a clear offer for them that works digitally with social proof, testimonials, and clear descriptions of what it is you're doing and who you can help. And build that in a proven content sequence. That way it escalates people through over time, so you're not trying to pressure them in a way where the natural learning experience needs to take place, right? I get to do my research, I get to think about it, and then, I saw your video on a Monday, I saw your email on a Tuesday, and then by Wednesday I stopped in and we came in and we did business together. It can really be that simple if you think about it that way. And if you take your time up front, you'll get, and plan this out, you'll be faster and you'll get ahead further in the long run, because the planning is really where the leverage is with your content strategy. So, all right, I hope this was helpful to you. There's a few of you I was talking to on Messenger. I'm going to tag you below. That way you can check this out. And if there's anything you want to talk about, you know where to find me. All right, thanks so much.